You know when you're driving and you like, you on your way somewhere that you usually go, and then you just end up there, and you're like, dang, you're driving on autopilot. That's disassociating. Let's talk about it. If you didn't know, you can now tune in to another episode of Estimated Hypothesis Podcast with your girl, Tori G. Victoria Littlejohn. And I was just thinking, and so someone said, just press the board, okay? And let's just roll with it. Mental health. When we study mental health, what are we talking about? Because I remember having a conversation with one of my elders, and she was basically like, oh no, none of her kids have any mental health problems. And I was just like, I assure you, I assure you they do. And so I realized that people are so unaware. And so I have this spirit of just explaining and teaching things that I've been exposed to that somebody may have heard of but may not actually know what that is. Sometimes we just know the gist of things. So I like to get down to the root of everything. I want to know about it. I need to go there. I want to see it. I touch the stove just to make sure it's hot or not hot. Like, I need to know. Right? So I think that I'm always thinking of ways to bring experience to people. And so it's like I want to just explain my experiences and show my experiences for one. Right? So when I disassociate, when I used to drive Uber, I disassociate when I'm driving. I have, because of my trauma, my childhood trauma, I have a disassociative personality type. This is undiagnosed. Nobody's ever diagnosed me. But if I'm I always make that word, introspective. If I'm always in my head, I'm not telling you what I'm actually thinking. So the therapist is trying to pull it out of you. They can only diagnose you based on what you say. And if I'm not saying anything, if I'm in my head thinking everything like it's the race, but I don't say anything, you don't know. Right? So I don't necessarily think that I have a disorder or anything. I'm just saying a lot of people do this, but that is disassociation. So in that moment, we're disassociating from reality. So that's what I do. I'm driving and I'm in my head. I'll be at work and I'm in my head and I'm thinking about when I get off, I'm going to do this. And I'm quiet. I'm always quiet because I'm thinking about, when I change the world and when I start serving people or when I do this. And, I'm going to serve millions or make billions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. The land and the food that I'm going to build. I'm always thinking about these things. So I'm never in the moment. So when I'm driving Uber, I'm thinking about these things. They doing their thing. I drive. I practice what I preach. So I always drive, like using my blinker and I'm introspective. And even people are in the car with me, I play my music and I'm in my head. So I'm focused. So I would drive. I would have these people in the car. And they would, like somebody would cut me off or something. And they would like flinch or, some of them would just be quiet and just be scoping it out. And I would always be smooth because I never jerked the car. So it was a smooth transition. Right? And so when I do Uber, I drive slow. I drive like a chauffeur. But when it's me and the homies, you know what I'm saying? We out here, like, I'm pushing this mud, okay? But I still always come to a smooth stop. I still can swerve quickly. I can brake. Somebody just almost hit me the other day. Somebody was in the car. He was like, watch out. I had already swerved. And kept right on going. Like, nothing happened. Like, and I don't react because I'm in my head. Right? So I think a lot of times they're in our head. We don't react. We push things down. And somebody might do something to us. And it might be the same person or it might be the same happening to us. And we're not releasing that. We don't release that. And then we talk. Right? Or somebody triggers us. Right? A big trigger for us. But we had never said that this was a trigger. This was a problem. This is an issue. We just assume that you know. And nobody reads minds. Like, we can read body language a little bit. I can read facial expressions a little bit. But I can't read your mind. I don't know until after I do it. So until after I cross the line, do I know? So I want to explain these things. Because that's a part of mental health. Right? Becoming passive aggressive. No, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. But you really hate me. So now you're doing things to, petty things or things to provoke me when in actuality you don't have your boundaries together and you are being passive aggressive. I've been there, right? And so I needed to find a word. I needed to figure out what that was, and so I studied it. And then when I see it in other people, I'm like, oh man, they don't even realize. Because I see the intention. It's always about the intention. Their belief. What do you believe in that moment? Are you really believe that I'm trying to hurt you? They do because of lack of awareness. But their intention wasn't ill. They weren't trying to hurt me. But they got provoked because something happened in their head, right, that felt real. And they believed it was true. So how many of us do that? And then we put it on the other person. We project. Just you made me. I can't make you do anything. Right? You don't have your emotions together. When I talk about emotional intelligence, which is so important. It's so important. I'll give you an example. See, I gotta check out my book, You're Not Crazy, because I explain all of this. And it's dope. It's dope. But you just, oh man, you can really put yourself in it. You can see yourself in it. And it's like a workbook. Like I really want to bring the awareness to this type of stuff. And a lot of times we're not going to the therapist. So it still kind of has a stigma, but even more, right? Even more, therapists aren't necessarily culturally appropriated yet. They're not. I think that's the term. They're not. They haven't done the field work. A lot of times, sometimes they somebody can hear something, right, and not judge you, but then not know what to do or not be able to relate or, you know what I'm saying? There's no connection there. So while I just think everybody needs to speak to somebody, I think that for a lot of us, a lot of Black Americans, a lot of people who have dealt with trauma, you need a trauma-informed therapist, right? And then way has a lot of trauma built in it already. Like just the Black American, just in general, the culture in general, it has a lot of trauma built in it, and it's normalized because it's been there so long. It's been there so long. But we gotta start asking questions. Time to ask questions. Something not right. And we've been asking questions to everybody, but we've been asking questions to ourselves. Right? I just wonder. I wonder about a lot of things, and I start to think about these things, and I start wanting to explain them. Right? And I don't know everything. I know when to be the teacher and when to be the student. Like, I really like different cultures. Like, the Chinese culture is different. Right? And back when I was known, like back when I was super Americanized, like still ordering chicken fingers everywhere I went, I didn't see a lot of the connection. Like, I was still very unaware. I was still very conditioned. Right? But then when I started to become aware of like what's really going on, I started to look around, and a lot of people that were around was not aware. Right? So when I started talking about mental health and triggers and toxic behaviors and wanting to elevate and constant elevation, not just one level, but truly going after my potential, I started to see the mental health show of people. And of course, you know, I want to help everybody. I can say squirrel or something, I don't know. But I realized that I can only do what I can do. But what I can do is start a podcast, and maybe, just maybe, I can help somebody see the connection. Your mental health shows in your actions. So for me, it's like the connections that I'm getting and downloads that I get, they're uncomfortable for me because it means that you too, my God, must straighten up. What is you? I just kept driving because I felt like talking, I didn't have anything particular on my brain, but I was thinking about how I disassociate, how it's automatic, how I know the lane that I need to be in, and I shift automatically. I don't even think about it. And then somebody cut me off so you took the exit. It's going left and right, split. Somebody cut me off. And it was a car behind me, but I calmly stopped and kept moving. And I think about getting triggered and how sometimes I can calmly just, you can't even see it on my face that that was upsetting to me. But I have to remember to release that and let that out. Whether I say, hey, I don't like that and set a boundary, right? Or whether but see, that's the thing. I don't want to have to ever hold it in, but I know that there are times when I may need to hold it in. Okay. When there are times I may need to hold it in because it hurts people. So I understand that somebody may, it's just a lack of understanding. Somebody may have a lack of understanding, whether it's me or themselves, and maybe I say something that's triggering to them, and then they trigger me, and I feel a trigger reaction, and I want to snap, so I have to hold that. I should, or I could say, hey, I don't like the way you're talking to me. Let's have this conversation later, or, just whatever the case may be, right? I can use some other tactics other than to just snap on them. A lot of times when we set boundaries in that moment when a person has already escalated, it's almost like they see it as a challenge. Like, don't talk to me like that, or what? You're going to do what? Or you're going to do what? And it's almost like they're provoking you. But their mental health is showing when they're doing that. Your mental health is showing when you're in my face like that, when you're calling me out my name, your mental health is showing. So to think about it like that, it's almost like, you have compassion, and not sympathy, but compassion. Like, I wish I could help you understand, but I'm going to just give you a minute to calm down. I'm going to give you a minute to get yourself together. It's cool. It's all love. But I can see where you're headed. And I don't even want you to go down that journey, down that path, right? So I think about this stuff, how normal it is, how it's everybody thing. Not somebody, somebody who's diagnosed with something. Everybody. We all have these things. So I like systems, methods, stuff. I like that. I think like that. I need to figure out a system all the time. So when I realized that I keep seeing the people, it's patterns of people, and I'm like, what is that? What is that? So then I realized, okay, it's mentality, but what is that? Then it's like, okay, it's personality. Okay, so there's only a few personalities. Okay, that makes sense. And then these few personalities get triggered, right? And these kind of ways based on their trauma. These traumas get triggered in these kind of ways. These type of things trigger these traumas. And these personalities handle it in these type of ways. Some blow up, some shut down, right? And so I'm realizing the system in humans. So when you talk about the matrix and the game and stuff, that's why I'm always talking about that, because it's like the system. The system in us. Like the way we were created. It's so cool. But you got to get all the way down to the brain and the neuroscience of it all. But it's so cool when you piece it together with the anthropology and with the psychology and you piece it together with the mindset and then the way that the economics, the economy was set up. So you see why stuff is the way it is and why it happened the way it did. Some they set it up like this. It's like it was. I mean, they did, but you know, it's just crazy. Like if they know all of that, that these ways of thinking, and it's like it's not just one type of person. We all like the personalities are all in us. We're just at different levels, socially. It's class, right? Different classes. So this is cool. This is something that I've been thinking about, and I've been writing about it for a while. Then I got into my first serious relationship, and that was just the icing on the cake for personalities and mentality and environment, all types of things, and how it contributes to the person and the trauma, how it can kind of hold you back and be stuck. And it's like, oh man, I gotta write about this. I gotta show the connection. This is important. Like people think that they're messed up. You're not messed up. Your trauma kind of forms your personality. Based on your personality, you're going to handle things in these kind of certain ways, right? If your trauma was abandonment, you're going to be clingy. You're going to handle stuff clingy. You might be jealous, right? You don't have your emotional intelligence check. You haven't balanced out your animalistic and your human brain. Then you might be aggressive once you get triggered, right? Or you might turn into a Debbie Downer, right? It just depends on your personality. And so I just study this stuff. And I got a lot of credits. I'm a super junior, okay? But I don't know, something about, first of all, I think it's what you make. Because first I find psychology. First I was in forensic science. But then I moved to psychology. But then I was like, ooh, anthropology. And then it's like, all right, well, can I combine it? Like, and then I was like, okay, well, social science is a little bit of all of it. You know? But I want to know all of the stuff. And so to me, it's like, I don't have to really pay for this. All I'm paying for is to say I did the work. I do the work. It's not about y'all, though. It's about me. I'm trying to figure out me. What's up with me? I got questions, okay? I'm trying to answer my own questions. But now that I have learned me, I can help other people. Now I don't have the paper that says you can do it based on the American studies or whoever, right? The APA, whoever. It doesn't matter. I don't care, right? But based on just my knowledge of as a person who actually cares about people, like truly cares about understanding and fixing the problem, like digging deeper to it. Like I'm that's proved. I'm Dr. Victoria Littlejohn out here. Holistic. But I definitely got some personal thesis too, okay? Because boy, I was doing my research and then I gotta write about it. Because I gotta understand. So anywho, I want to help people understand. Because it's very common when we make it seem like, oh, something's wrong with you if da-da-da-da. I would have people tell me they don't have depression and anxiety because it didn't show up for them the way it showed up for me. Because I would get down. You know, I would get depressed when I get down. Like, some people, they don't, it doesn't show up like that. Some people get overly active. Some people, they internalize it, right? And they can get on a loop, and they do this, or when it was this, I had this. But on the outside, they look fine. It shows up in different ways based on the personality, right? And I think about going to those places that diagnose you. And I used to get so frustrated. I remember leaving a Google comment because I was just so down. I went there to get help, and I sat there all day. Then they were like, they're not taking any more people. And I'm like, what? I really need to talk to someone. Like, I live here alone. My family is estranged. I need to talk to someone. There's something going on. I don't really know. I need to talk to someone. I need resources. You can't just turn me away. And they were just like, we're not taking anybody. Leave a message. And it was just like, wow. Like, I had to, like, boss up and get myself out of that. But what if somebody else didn't have the resources? What if somebody else didn't have the connection? I sat in solitude to talk to God. I talked myself through it. I self-talk. But I'm talking to God. But what if somebody don't have that connection, right? What if the abandonment issue you need something tangible? I used to feel that way. I need something tangible. I need to talk to somebody and hear somebody say something back. Like, God is talking to me, but it's in my head. I didn't know that was God. I thought that was my thought. Sometimes it's saying something that sounds good. Sometimes it sounds ridiculous. Sometimes it's, that sounds about right, But no, it's like I had to separate the two, see the difference. That higher and lower self. Some people can't see that. Well, yeah. Slow down a little bit. All right. Getting off the highway now. I'm wanting to normalize it because I know what the doctors say. We're supposed to take the medicines and all the things, right? I get it, but I realized that when I go to the psychiatric doctors, they're giving everybody the same medication. It works for everybody. You just need to figure out your level. Yes, it's good for everybody, but you realize how much money the pharmaceutical companies take. So as long as you're getting that prescription, the government's paying for it, somebody's paying for it. We're making money, right? So keep coming in here and getting diagnosed for things. Let's generalize it and not realize that trauma is really what has you imbalanced. My mom used to say you have some type of chemical imbalance, and it used to hurt my feelings. As a child, like, what you mean I got a chemical imbalance? But it's like, yeah, neurologically, some of the chemicals in our brains are imbalanced based on the trauma that we endure, whether it's from childhood or it's from adulthood. PTSD can happen at any moment. Some type of trauma can happen at any moment. So I'm just wanting to bring awareness to this because we have to combat it. Like, the healing starts within us. I feel like the different labels of diagnosis come from different levels of imbalance or whatever, right? Because I just feel like it's a spectrum. Once you start to become aware, you can retrain your brain to come down on the spectrum. Now, I feel like some people imbalance may go too far, or it may be too bad or too severe, where sometimes they do need medication, they do need more assistance, right? But I just feel like, I just believe that if there's a will, there's a way. I just believe that. We are just so powerful. Our minds are just so powerful. And if we can become aware, then we can function and change ourselves to what we self-made, meaning I design myself. Shut up in this right now. I was thinking earlier about just in our culture, when we say nigga, it's like different meaning. It's different meaning to this word. And I was thinking about Nuki. Like sometimes you could say nigga and it mean motherfucker. Like just some mofos, right? this is going on. But okay. It could mean, just mofos, right? And you're like, and my example was, what was my example? Something about the mofos. Oh, I'm the type of nigga that needed to hear victory lap to get back on my grind. Like I'm the type of mofo type of person, right? And then you could be like that nigga in the sense of like what it used to mean, like as ignorant, right? Or then it could mean like survival mode. Like, girl, I didn't do this too, like I'm a nigga. Like in the sense of I can make $1 out of 15 cents. Like I know about the struggle. And it's just so many variations for the word. But it's not for everyone because they aren't culturally appropriated. Just like therapists. Like everybody's not going to get me, right? Especially if, everybody's not classically trained, right? Everybody can't play the piano, right? So meaning that everybody can't take every personality, right? You need the right people. When you self-making yourself, you need the right people. The right people are going to be pushing you forward to whatever your goal is. The wrong people, it's like, have you seen Save the Last Dance? And I can't remember the dude's name. And he was like, when they were, Malachi, and they were under the bridge, and he was like, I don't remember the names, but Sean, the character that he played, he was like, why you didn't just call such and such? And Malachi was like, such and such? He was like, that nigga will he was like, he'll get a nigga killed quick. Like, I always think about that, like, you're not going, everybody's not for like, you can't just throw a therapist at somebody, right? You can't just throw some coping skills. It has to be for you. You can't just throw some spirituality tactics. You can't just throw some crystals, right? Whatever it is. You can't just, it has to be for you. Because your life and your different trauma created your personality, right? And so whether your goal is to just excel, whether your goal is to really dig into your personality and figure out why your quirks are the way your quirks are and neurologically retrain your brain. When we're talking about breaking the habits, we're literally talking about retraining our brain. And so sometimes we have to, all the time, you're right. All the time, like it's not going to work unless we really understand what we are retraining. Now I just got the smoking habit. Why do you smoke though? Right? What are you coping from? We know it's coping. I use this to cope. From what? Right? Because if you can't see that problem, then whenever it comes up to show itself, something similar comes around, you're going to want to do what? Even though you said you stopped, and maybe you haven't been, like, let's say when you go to your grandma's house, it triggers you. You know, you get your ass beat in grandma's house or something, just something simple, right? But if you don't realize that, you don't never smoke until you go over grandma's house. Then when you go over grandma's house, and okay, shout out to Cole for mine. But, Andre 3000 says this in Life of a Party on Donda, and people don't like Kanye sometimes, and I feel like it's the people who feel like they good. They good. Y'all crazy. He diagnosed with bipolar. He crazy. Boy, I don't have no mental health problems. I can't listen to him. He be tripping. Boy, stop it. When I tell you that man, like, not, he's human. All right, no, it's not like he's perfect. Okay? Right? He got major points, though. Like Khaled got major keys. He got major points. And we don't see them sometimes. We're not connecting them. And I connect a lot of them. Sometimes I don't know. Okay? He do his own thing because, like you said, who gonna stop me? So sometimes it just be like, okay. But other times, it's like, yeah. But that could be just my level of awareness. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could have been talking to Lauren and she understands fully what he's saying. I could not be there yet. It's like somebody who's not at my level. So I want to explain. I feel like a catalyst, right? Because I'm not grandiose or nothing like that, but I definitely am on this spectrum of what they say all these things are. And so maybe I haven't been diagnosed or whatever, so I seem normal, right? But I'm thinking the same thing. But I know why. And so I see why it's not an issue, why we need to normalize it. And I also see how it's a game. It's about the money. So normalizing it is going to cause a problem because now we can fix it on our own. Now we can put in a little elbow grease, a little effort. Now we can create groups to hold each other accountable to make sure that we all stay in the race. Remember on Stumpy Yard when they were running up the hill and the dude, that probably would have been me, was like, man, woo! Like, and old boy came back and they all was running together. Like, that's what we're supposed to be doing. But we get restless, we look, or we don't look, and we just keep on going. But it's like, you gotta have the effort. Like, I can't keep pulling you, my dude. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? I can't carry you, my girl. Like, you gotta have that will. But if you realize I'm right here with you, and then you kick it up a notch, and you tap into your next level, then yeah, we all gonna win. But it takes all of us to be on one accord to say, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Or I do have an issue, or there is something I want to fix, or this has been holding me back, or whatever, right? I'm just focused on finding the truth. So a lot of people have told me a lot of things about myself, and I don't believe that. Because I know my heart, and I know how pure I am. And so how do somebody that's a judge is going to judge me. You put him in place or her in place based on what she feels, or, you get what I'm saying? Like, these jurors are going to judge me, or whoever it is, the psychologist is going to judge me, the clinical therapist, whoever it is, down to my mama is going to judge me, but it's like inside my head, you don't know how I feel, and my intentions are always pure. I'm never trying to hurt anybody. So if I do, there's a miscommunication, and I feel like that's for so many people. And then sometimes we got hurt so much that we said, well, I'm just going to do my thing. And if I hurt you, oh well. And it's like, no, where's the compassion in that? Because then if somebody comes around and does the same thing to you, then it's a problem. And you see those, like when I was little, people used to always die for, you stepped on my shoe. And it's like, what? That's a whole other story, but anyway. It's getting more warm in here now. I'm just thinking about these things, and I'm hoping that I can bring awareness, but more so, I'm hoping that awareness will bring change, like real change, in the people that felt like that there wasn't change. Because I think it's harder to teach an old dog new treat. What? I think it's harder to teach an old dog new tricks, but it's not impossible. And so I definitely think we got to focus on the children, but we also got to focus on who's raising these children, right? We got to focus on teaching the other people how to treat us. Like, they don't know, they're not going to get in a huddle and teach themselves about our culture and our troubles and what their decisions caused us. So we have to rise up, heal ourselves, and then go out and teach them, right? And they need to pay us for it, right? Because that is where peace will come, from understanding. And understanding is wisdom, right? And a wise one said, pay me, right? I don't know, but like, pay me, right? Pay me handsomely. Because I'm going to teach you something that's going to help you change your whole ecosystem. And you're not going to look at us this certain way anymore, or you're going to know how to handle us, but also each other, because y'all got problems. Nobody's perfect. So if I teach you how to see my trauma, how to deal with my personalities, or how to have emotional intelligence for yourself, because sometimes you can't expect somebody to hold themselves down or have respect or whatever it is. Kidding, okay? Excuse me. Sometimes you just have to know when to leave. You just have to know when your boundaries are getting brushed up on. You can't wait for them to get themselves in check. You know how the teacher waits for the class to settle down? And then you got the kids like, come on, y'all. All right, y'all, be quiet. All right. And the other teachers, it's like they got, y'all think I'm playing? It's like they can silence the room at a drop of a dime. They've set the boundaries. We cool, but y'all know this is my boundary. Okay, and I don't even, hey, we don't even want to know what's going to happen if you hit that. Don't even hit that, okay? Stay away from that area. But a lot of times we don't set the boundary. We don't even know. And then we create this belief. We create this belief that it's somebody else. And it's us. So I feel like we need to be able to work on ourselves and then go and teach someone else so that they can work on their selves and know how to work with us. Because I don't think it's about collaborating or dividing and creating our own. I think it's about having our own and selling it. Pay me. King me. Pay me, right? Like, don't just, it don't have to just be our ecosystem. We can make something that everybody global, like what they make, we use. So why wouldn't we want to make something that they use? But in order for us to do that, we have to heal our minds, heal ourselves, and work on ourselves to work together because those big things, they take collaboration, and we got to be able to trust each other. The reason why we can't trust each other is because of our trauma. So I just like to think about these things because that is mental health. And healing starts within us. It doesn't start when we get the money, the girl, the guy, the clothes, the shoes, the car. It doesn't start then. It starts within us. When you think about all those millionaires that killed themselves or people who pass away, unfortunately, because of coping, the way that they're coping with their mental health. It's like, okay, this is a problem, and it doesn't become fixed when your status or your class change. It becomes fixed when your character starts to change. When you start to balance out your emotions. And the only way I feel like I was able to do that is by understanding what I feel. So, I hope that this was good, a nice little talk, and that we really start to think about these things. I just wanted to leave a little note. Like, see, I'm not a advice giver, but I just want to ponder with you. Like, let's process together. Like, I think about these things. If it resonates, if you can relate, let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Meet me in the comments. Like, let me know. How do you feel about it? I hope this helps someone. I really do. And if no one has told you today, I love you, make sure you do some healing today. Process your day. Peace and healing, y'all. I'm out.